There's a moment every man faces at some point in his life. Not a breakdown, not a failure, not a rejection, but a quiet, private realization. No matter what I do, I still don't feel good enough. It shows up in the way you overthink what people think of you, in the way you overcompensate in relationships, in the way you grind endlessly but never feel satisfied, in the way you downplay your wins and magnify your flaws. Most men think this feeling means they're broken, or weak, or behind. But the truth is much simpler. You weren't born feeling not enough. You were taught to feel this way by your childhood, your environment, your comparisons, your failures, and the people who shaped your identity long before you had a say in it. This video isn't about hype or positivity. It's about understanding the internal programming that has quietly controlled your confidence, your relationships, your ambition, and how you see yourself. Because once you understand the root, you stop trying to fix the symptoms and finally break the pattern. If you've spent most of your life feeling not good enough, it didn't come out of nowhere. It came from your earliest environment. Most men who struggle with self-worth didn't grow up around unconditional support. They grew up around conditional acceptance. Maybe love felt like a reward. Maybe approval only came when you were useful, successful, obedient, or impressive. Maybe the people you depended on emotionally were inconsistent. Warm one day, cold the next. Or maybe you were overlooked entirely, left to figure out life on your own way too early. What happens to a boy in that environment? He learns a dangerous belief. Who I am isn't enough. I have to perform to earn connection. So he becomes hyper-aware of other people's reactions. He becomes responsible beyond his years. He becomes the fixer, the pleaser, the overachiever. He becomes the man who works twice as hard as everyone else. Not because he wants to, but because he's terrified of being seen as a disappointment. And now, as an adult, that conditioning still runs the show. You struggle to relax around people. You feel pressure to be perfect. You measure your worth by how much you can give or how little you can inconvenience others. You don't just want to be accepted. You feel like you must continually earn it. This didn't start with adulthood. This started with a childhood where your emotional survival depended on pleasing the people around you. Until you recognize that, you'll keep trying to prove your worth to everyone, even when you've already earned your place. Another reason you don't feel good enough is because somewhere along the way, your mind learned to measure your worth externally instead of internally. Not by who you are, but by how you stack up against everyone else. And today, that comparison is constant. You open your phone and see men who look more successful, more disciplined, more confident, more accomplished. You see highlight reels, not real lives, but your brain doesn't care. It responds emotionally, not logically. It whispers, "You're behind. You should be further. You're not doing enough." And because you're comparing your private struggles to someone else's polished presentation, you lose every time. This creates a loop that destroys self-worth. You compare. You feel inferior. You push harder. You still feel behind. You compare again. It doesn't matter how much progress you make. Your mind refuses to register it because the comparison never stops. You don't celebrate where you came from. You don't acknowledge what you've survived. You don't see the growth in front of you. All you see is where someone else is, and that becomes the standard you punish yourself with. But here's the truth most men never realize. Comparison eliminates context. You don't know their struggles, their advantages, their failures, their support system, their past. You're comparing your entire life story to someone else's greatest hits, And when you measure yourself against an illusion, you will always feel not enough, even when you're exceeding everything younger you ever dreamed of. Until you stop using other people as your measuring stick, you'll always underestimate your own value and overestimate theirs. One of the strongest psychological reasons you don't feel good enough is simple. You don't give yourself credit for anything you've actually overcome. Men who struggle with self-worth have a pattern. They downplay their wins and amplify their mistakes. You succeed at something? Your mind says, anyone could have done that. You push through a hard season? Your mind says, yeah, but you could have done better. You make real progress? Your mind immediately shifts to everything you haven't done yet. This creates a mental environment where nothing you do counts. No effort is ever enough, and every achievement becomes invisible the moment you finish it. And here's the dangerous part. When you never acknowledge your wins, your brain stops believing you're capable at all. It starts building a biased memory, one that remembers every failure in detail and forgets every victory in seconds. That's why you feel like you're always losing, even when you've quietly built more strength, discipline, and resilience than most men around you. It's not that you haven't achieved things, it's that you don't emotionally register the achievements you've made. And when progress doesn't feel real, self-worth can't grow. You end up living in a constant state of not enough, not because you're failing, but because you refuse to recognize the man you've already become. Until you start acknowledging your wins, not as luck, not as flukes, but as evidence of who you actually are, your mind will stay locked in a version of you that no longer exists. Another reason you don't feel good enough is because, knowingly or not, you've let the wrong people become the judges of your worth. And the truth is harsh. You're asking blind people to validate your vision. Maybe it was parents who projected their own insecurities onto you. Maybe it was friends who only felt comfortable when you stayed small. Maybe it was partners who needed you to doubt yourself so they could feel in control. Or maybe it was environments where emotional support didn't exist, so you learned to measure yourself through external reactions instead of inner truth. When you build your self-worth around people who can barely manage their own, their inability to appreciate you becomes evidence that you're not enough. Not because it's true, but because you trusted the wrong sources. This creates a toxic cycle. You give your best, it goes unnoticed, you try harder. They still don't change, you internalize it. Maybe I'm the problem, you shrink. They gain more power. You lose yourself. They still don't see you. Eventually, you start believing that their limited perception is your reality. And here's the dangerous part most men never recognize. When people have a small view of themselves, they need you to stay small so they don't feel inferior. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your potential threatens their comfort. Your confidence highlights their insecurity. So they minimize you. Not because you're inadequate, but because your strength confronts what they've avoided in themselves. You don't feel good enough because you've tied your worth to opinions that were never qualified to define you in the first place. Until you detach your identity from people who can't see your value, you'll keep questioning a man who's already worthy and shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown. Here's the part most men never recognize. You don't feel good enough because you never learned how to feel worthy without earning it. You're comfortable grinding. You're comfortable suffering. You're comfortable chasing. You're comfortable over-delivering. But being enough as you are, that feels unfamiliar, uncomfortable, almost threatening. So you keep building your identity on external proof: success, discipline, money, results, people's reactions, women's attention, other people's validation. And the moment any of those things disappear, your self-worth collapses with them. You don't actually believe you're valuable. You believe you become valuable when you're performing at a high level. This is why you burn out. This is why you overthink. This is why you settle for disrespect. This is why you chase people who give you crumbs. This is why you can't sit still without feeling like you're falling behind. Your worth is built like a house with no foundation. Everything looks fine until something shakes you, and suddenly the whole thing feels unstable. The truth is simple. Until your value comes from who you are, not what you achieve, not who approves of you, not what you have, you will always feel like you're one mistake away from being exposed. A man becomes powerful the moment he realizes self-worth isn't earned, it's reclaimed. It's something you build internally through identity, boundaries, integrity, and the standards you hold yourself to, not through the reactions of people who don't even know themselves. Once you build your worth from the inside out, you stop chasing validation. You stop fearing rejection, and you stop living like you're one step away from losing everything. You don't feel good enough because you've never learned how to hold your own value without proving something first. But the moment you change that, your entire life changes with it. If any part of this video hit you, understand something. Feeling not good enough isn't a flaw. It's a pattern. One you didn't choose, but one you can break. You don't fix this by becoming perfect. You fix it by becoming aware, by recognizing where the belief came from, by refusing to let old programming run your life, and by rebuilding your identity from truth instead of fear. Most men stay stuck because they never question the voice in their head. They just obey it. You don't have to. If you're ready to rebuild your confidence from the inside out, not through validation, not through performance, but through real inner strength, then stay locked in with me. Like the video, drop a comment, and subscribe so this message keeps reaching you. Every time you engage, the algorithm pushes more of this content your way, and it helps this channel grow so I can keep giving you the tools you need. Stand tall. Know your worth. And never let old programming dictate the man you're becoming.